Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video, I'm going to be using the Planners Anonymous Hygge Life stamp set to make this gorgeous wreath card. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so from the absolute second that I saw this stamp set, I knew it was going to be absolutely perfect to use in a wreath builder. The amount of tiny little images here that are just going to be smicko. Oh, I can't wait. Cannot wait to give this a try. So I've got my wreath builder template. I'm going to use the biggest of the two, which is a 4-inch square. I'm happy doing square cards. I actually think they're kind of cool. So I'm just going to mount this into my Misty tool. I am actually just going to use a little bit of washi tape to hold this down. I've got a new plastic bit on the back here and it's just not quite sitting straight yet. So I'm just going to use this to hold this down, and that way I can use the magnets to keep the actual bit of paper still. So once I'm happy with where that is, I'm just sticking that down. It'll be so easy to pull out afterwards. But I am still going to put my little curved magnet down in the corner here. Okay, so I have a piece of cardstock. This is just plain white cardstock that I have pre-cut to 4 inches. Flip that over because there's a little mark on there. And I'm going to be stamping all of this with Lawn Fawn Jellyfish ink, which is a no-line colouring ink, because I'm going to try and sort of give these a bit of a watercolour look. Because I love the way they look in the kit, I'm kind of trying to copy that or recreate that. So we'll see how we go. So I'm going to start off with, I want to start with the foliage actually, and then we'll come in with a flower afterwards. So I'm grabbing, dog hair, one of these little bits. Now I'm but assuming that this will go off the page at some point. So I'm just mounting that in where I'm happy. I'm just going to pick it up. I'm just going to rotate this round just to see where it's going to sit, because I think it'll sit, off. I'm fine with that. I think it's fine. I kind of like the going off the page thing, but if you don't, if you like a wreath that's kind of, actually let's try it. Let's see if we can keep it on. Oh, damn, I've got ink on my fingers. It's alright, thankfully I have bunches of this cardstock all pre-cut for me. I'm just wiping my hand just to try and make sure I don't have any more ink on me. Okay. Oops, sorry, I need to be up on this one, don't I? So I'll put that in. It'll sort of give me a bit of a wreath shape now, but it will. So that's going to stamp there. When we move this to this position, I feel like they're going to cover each other up, which is why I was trying to go sort of up instead. Alright, you know what, we're just going to try one. If it doesn't work, if I'm not happy with the way the shape is at the end, I can always just do another one, it's not a big deal. So I'm just grabbing the jellyfish ink, load that up, stamp, whoops, and it'll be very hard for you guys to see, I'm aware of that, so I'll show you, I'll do a couple of these and then I'll put in a close-up, because I have a feeling you're not going to be able to see this particularly well. If you haven't seen the way the wreath builder works, I will link another video down below of where I show the wreath builder. But I'll also link a video, and in that video there is a link to Jennifer Maguire's video, and she does a fantastic job. Okay. That actually looks really cool. So, I can do one more, and then I'm just going to go around, and while I'm doing this I'll get Ryan to put in a cover of what this looks like. I skipped one. I don't know how I did that, but I did. And so all you do is just make sure that you keep one of the corners in the notch at each time, at all times, and you'll get your little wreath. So that's the actual sort of wreath to begin with. I actually really like that that's a full circle. I think that's really nice. Very, very pretty. But now we can come in and kind of add some bits and pieces to it with all the other little ones. So there are lots of teeny tiny little things in here. So we can kind of build this all up in different layers. So I'm going to start, I want the rose in here. I'm going to put that sort of sitting where I'm happy with it. And then you can, I'm just trying to decide if I want to add more now or if I want to add more later, because you can kind of keep building this up. Actually, I'm going to do a rose in the corner, and then we'll come back in with that leaf and I'll build it that way. Oops, I was like, where's the ink gone? Where's the stamp gone? It's got stuck. So I'm just making sure that's in the right spot. I'm always making sure that this top left corner is in the exact right spot, because that's where I lined up that rose. And then I can just keep moving around. Now obviously if you wanted to use regular black ink here, you could use any kind of colour ink you like. You could even use like actual coloured inks. You could stamp these in green and pink. So instead of using the distress ink, which I'm going to do in a minute, to watercolour these, you could very easily use the ink to actually stamp it itself. Actually, we might, depending on how this turns out, we may also do that. I don't want this video to be too long, but I also want to be able to show you all the amazing ways you can use this stamp set, because this is just one of those sets from PA that I just look at and I go, I could use you a bazillion different ways. It's the images in here and how they build together are just stunning. I just love them. I really love them. I don't want to go too over the top. I don't want to be doing this forever, as fun as it is. I could sit here and do it forever, but you guys might get a bit bored. Especially if I'm not 100% sure you can actually see how light that is. Uh-oh, I lost my leaves. Oh, there they are. So I'm just seeing where I can put the leaves. And I think they're all going to be, that one in particular might just be too big. So I'll go and have a look and see what I can find that's smaller. We've got this little kind of baby's breath kind of thing. And the cool thing is here, you can, once you get these little ones going, you can add in multiple images at once. So if you do want to kind of add in a little bit more, you can. So I'm going to add the little baby's breath kind of in the top. And then there's a little leaf here that I'm going to have coming out. And then there's also, oh, what's it called? The bunny tail. I'm going to call them bunny tails, but that could not be what they're called. So I'm just going to have a go at this. This may, I'm a little scared, if I'm being honest, that this is going to kind of mess this up. Oh, and I pushed too hard. It's okay. I'm gonna not cop it, but I'm gonna continue on, because I might be able to fix that up later. So I think I just pushed a little too hard. I did. That's right. As we go around here, you sort of won't see that one quite as much. Oh, I love that little leaf. And this is as far as we're going to go. I could keep going round and round and round and keep adding more in, but I feel like this is going to be enough. I may add just one more thing. I'm just having a thought. I may just add something else in here. Okay, I'm going to do one more little bit here. I'm just going to keep in, just a little side note, I'm just going to keep in the little one with the baby's breath. I'm going to clean this. Oh, no, I'm not. The plan was I was going to keep it in there, so if I wanted to come back over and do a darker stamp later, I could, but it just popped up when I wiped that, so that's okay. Going back to that original 3-leaf that I sort of had that I couldn't fit in, and I just want to add it just in the top corners of the corners. So I'm only going to do this 4 times instead of the 8. It's just going to fill out that corner a little bit more. Now with the wreath builder, it is a lot easier to have a misty. If you don't have the wreath builder, you don't have the misty, you can still do this. You can just grab your stamps and just sort of wing it. You can obviously also rule this up, rule lines and follow along. The wreath builder just makes it easier and just for me makes it a little bit more fun. Alright, I have a little bit of ink there in the middle, but that's okay because it's going to get covered up. So there we have our little built up wreath. I will of course put a zoom in here again just in case you can't see it. So now we're going to get to actually colouring this in. So for that I'm going to just use 2 colours of distress ink. I've got Bundled Sage and Tattered Rose. I'm going to start off with the Bundled Sage and do all the leaves, and then I'm going to come in with the Tattered Rose afterwards. So I'm just putting a little bit of that down on my glass mat. Any kind of slick surface will work. I've also got myself a little tissue, a cup of water, and a paintbrush. This is just a little tip, like a fine tip paintbrush. I think I got this from Aldi. And this is cool with the jellyfish ink. So the jellyfish ink actually kind of gives you an outline once you colour over the top. So I'm not being horribly careful here. I'm being careful enough that it's not going to be sort of red, like completely outside the lines. But I'm not trying to add detail. I'm not trying to add too much because I'm letting the ink sort of show up on its own and do that for me. And then if I feel like moving some extra colour around, I can just do that once I've got the whole kind of thing coloured. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and colour all of this in, starting with the greens, and then I'll come back and we'll have a look at it before I move on to the pinks of the roses. Okay, so there's all of the greenery. I think what I have noticed as I've been going around is that the more, like the wetter the ink was to begin with, the better you kind of get the details. I've sort of lost some of the details around this side, but that's okay. I still think it looks pretty awesome. So I'm just wiping off my brush, so just cleaning that up so I don't get any of the green on the roses. Go ahead and do the exact same thing with the roses. So I'm interested to see if I get some of the detail pop up or if I don't. So we shall find out. Now often when I was going around there was just a little bit of, well actually before I do that, I just want to heat set this so that I don't get any of the green running into the pink. So I'm just going to really quickly just blast this with the heat gun. Now what I'm scared is going to happen now is that the ink on the rose won't give me the finish I want, but we'll see what happens. So often when I was going around there, the leaves overhung the roses. I deliberately coloured in the leaf part as opposed to the rose part because I wanted the roses to look like they were behind in the bush. So you are kind of getting the finish I want here, but not as much. I'll show you afterwards we'll do another one really quickly. And I'll sort of show you what I mean if you get the really dark kind of finish. It is popping up a little bit here, but not like I wanted it to. And I'm being really messy. I'm not being careful here. I like the messy look. I think it's pretty. I think it's especially pretty with this kind of less structured kind of stamping or kind of images. I love that colour combo. And then I'm thinking about for the little sticky bits coming back in again with a darker ink and kind of using the bit that's there already as a shadow, which I think will work. We shall finish this first and we'll come back and see. Just a really cool way to practice your watercolouring or to even just give it a try, because it doesn't need to be perfect. The effect of the wreath actually kind of masks any imperfections with your painting. I think it looks really cool. I am still slightly disappointed that I've lost some of the effects on the flowers, but I'm actually having a thought we might do some stamping with that too, because I don't want to give up on this. Number one, I've spent too long painting those leaves, but number two, I want to see what I can do. So put the paintbrush away for a bit. I'm going to heat set this so that this is all dry, and then we're going to have some fun seeing if we can fix this up. Alright, we're going to start with the rose. I'm going to try and get that detail back on the rose first. So I'm going to pop this back into the wreath builder, back into that top corner. I'm going to use my magnet to hold this down this time because the page is a little bit warped. Whoops. Because of the water. So I'm going to start with the rose because that's the part I'm most not happy with at the moment. So what I'm going to do is try and line the rose up. It's actually not that difficult. So I'm going to pop it in there, and let's just see when we stamp this with, I'm going to go straight over the top with padded rose. And so hopefully this will bring in a bit more of that detail. And if it's not exactly perfect, oh my god. I say if it's not exactly perfect, it'll be fine. Because the jellyfish ink is so light, but that really is just very pretty. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around again with that rose. And then we're going to do the same thing with the baby's breath and the bunny tail. Not sure if these are the right colours, but I'm going to see what happens. So I'm going to use pumice stone for the baby's breath. I know that's a grey, so that's going to fit very, very nicely. Again, I'm just going to use my magnets to really hold this down for a second so I can get this lined up. The good thing is you only have to line it up once, and then after that it's very easy to do. Whoops, dropped my ink there. So I'm really comfortable with pumice stone. I think this is going to be the right colour. I do, because I can, I'm just grabbing a bit of scrap that I had here before. I just want to have a look at it. Well, number one, don't push so hard. So, we'll go around. We'll just do there we go. If I'm light with it, it's fine. And that gives me the definition I want. So we're good there. So we'll do this one. Just being very light with the tap, and if it's not in exactly the right place, it's actually okay because it's not like the jellyfish ink is a very shadowy kind of ink, and it's not going to sort of take the focus away. It won't look like it's been double stamped as much. And I'm just trying to work out, while I'm stamping this, I'm in my head trying to work out what I'm going to do with the rabbit's foot. So the more I think about it, the more I don't want to add in another colour. I will just have a look quickly. This is frayed burlap. So it's a bit of a browny grey. No, it doesn't look bad, but I'm just going to stick with the colour palette I've already got because that's the best part, in my opinion, it's the best part of this month's kit, is that it is very understated, it is very plain and simple, and I love that about it. So I'm going to try and stick to it and honour it in a weird, creepy kind of way. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with the bunny tail, rabbit's foot, whatever you want to call it, and I'll be right back. Just because because I'm being a bit pedantic here, I just want to do this bit by hand. So rather than using the twist and the twist, I just want to do this sort of myself. No other reason than I can slightly position it differently for each one. Obviously doing it that way normally is exactly what you want to do. Just because I'm trying to not hit the rows a little bit on this one, I just want them all to be just a little bit different. This is what I mean with you can do this without the wreath builder. The wreath builder helps, and it certainly makes lining all of this up a lot easier, but you can do something very similar without needing the wreath builder. Okay, so that's the finished little card. Oh, I love that so very much. And then I'm just looking at I want to look at my quote cards in the kit first. I don't think, ooh, I'm really tempted by the There's No Place by Home, and I'm also tempted, I think that green looks really pretty. I just want to do, and I'm going to do this one super fast, so I'm not going to talk through it at all. I want to do a very similar one to this, but I want to do it with all coloured inks. So it'll be very, very similar. The stamps themselves will probably be the same ones. I just want to give it a shot without watercolouring, with just doing just the stamps themselves. And I'm just going to change this up a little bit. This will be a slightly smaller wreath, I want it the edges not to hang off the edge quite so much. So I'm just bringing it down. So like I said, I'm going to do this one super fast. I'm not going to talk to you guys at all through this, and I'll be right back. So I just wanted to show you that one just as something different. I did use a slightly different colour. I didn't use Tattered Rose. I started off with Kitsch Flamingo, and it was definitely the wrong colour. So I had to go with Worn Lipstick. But I want to show you just very quickly, where'd that face go? Just a little thing that you can do if you do decide to use like the coloured ink to stamp it. You can then come in with just a clean brush. Mine's got a little bit of dirty stuff on it, but you can kind of do something similar. The water reaction of the distress ink will allow you to sort of push that colour around. You can keep the detail, but give yourself a little bit of colour if you did decide you wanted to colour this in. You can do it this way, or can also do it that you stamp that out, the little bit of ink on the desk, same way we did in the first place. That'll give you a slightly deeper colour, but the whole thing is pink. And this is again just a reason, or not an excuse, but it gives you the ability to play with the watercolour look, especially if you're like me. I'm not particularly good at the watercolour thing. I don't think I'm very good at it. But this gives me a chance to play and gives me a chance to do something a little bit different. Okay, I just want to finish, I'll finish off both. Part of me wants to use this Staying Cozy at Home. And part of me, that one's going to be too big. So I'm going to just check something. Grabbing my infinity dies. These are my circle ones. I just want to keep with the circle thing. I'm just seeing, no, it needs to be smaller. I'm just seeing what I can do because I don't want to cover up too much of what I had. So I'm just putting that in, there we go. But see, if I put that on here, it's going to be way too small. And even if I go up to the next size circle, this is just a way for me to be able to work out sizes and stuff. Even if I go up to the next size circle, that's still not going to quite fit. It's going to be too big. So, I have this little thank you very much circle that this is a uniquely creative one. The only thing I can think of. So I'm just grabbing out of the kit. I'm just grabbing the stickers. I'm just seeing what we've got sticker wise. I really like that thank you very much. I think that looks really nice, but I think it's a little bit too, the black is too black. And it will take away from the softness of the, so this isn't really, there's not really a quote there, and like I said, these ones are too big, so I'm just seeing what I can think of. So I can bring in, I've got sentiments in there. This is the Gina K Wreath Builder Kit. Just trying to see. I'm just going to do this one that says, you're my favourite human. Just seeing, yeah, that's going to work. So I'm going to use the you're my favourite human. But I'm really tempted. I could use something from the digital kit, and I'm just sort of thinking about it. The problem with that is that it's really hard to size, considering I've already got this there, and I know this video has already gone for long enough. So I am going to just use You're My Favourite Human. I'm not even going to use this in the Misty. I'm just going to stamp this out myself, and I'm just going to use the pumice stone ink. Now, I'm going to check it first on my scratch piece, because distress ink is not always the best for something really detailed like a sentiment, but that one has worked. So, and I'm not going to use You're My Favourite Human because it's spelled favourite in the American way, and as much as I can deal with that, I prefer the Australian way. So I'm going to grab one of these other ones that says life is better because of you. We'll use that one instead. Again, I'm going to put it on the scratch paper first just to check. Yeah, it's fine. I wasn't going to, but the more I thought about it, the more I went, what if I stamp this wrong? I just want it to be in the right spot, so I am going to put it into the Misty and do it right. These are the things that I think about sometimes. It would be so much easier just to stamp that with the acrylic block. But I've gone to so much trouble so far to get this to be as nice as possible. You don't want to sort of not give it up, but mess it up on the very last sort of stage of this. So that's sort of where I think of with the Misty, that at least this way, if this is slightly not quite right, if when I stamp this out the writing isn't quite perfect, I can always re-stamp it, stamp again, and it will give me a better finish. So don't take the shortcuts. As fun as the shortcuts are, don't take the shortcuts. Okay. Alright, and then to finish this card off, I'm going to leave this one as it is. I actually really like it just as it is, as just a little card, but I think that thank you very much, if I could find a white version of that, would look really nice. Just grabbing a piece of plain white cardstock. And I'm just grabbing the kit in because I want a piece of the green paper. I'm just finding a bit of the green, and I'm going to mount this up on the green because I think the green's really pretty. And as much as the actually, because I think the tattered rose doesn't really match my pink. Yeah, no, we're going to go with the green. Part of me wants to do like just watercolor it on the back because that way the tattered rose will match, because I feel like it's already too green. Alright, we'll do it that way. So I'm going to cut the card base first. I want the card base to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to cut that to 11 and a half. And I'll fold that over in a second. And then on another bit of cardstock, I'll do that wash. So this is just another bit of the same cardstock. And we'll just cut that down to give me just a little, so I know this is 4 inches, so I'm going to cut it to 5. And we'll see if that's too big when we get there. I think it's going to be too big. I think it's going to come down a little bit. Yeah, come way down. So I'm going to make it 4.5 instead. Making sure it still fits on mine, which it does, so that's fine. So we'll get out a slightly bigger brush and we'll put a bunch of that tattered rose over here. I know that looks like it's not there, but it is. And always just check. I have a tendency when I do this to forget to clean my brush the last time I used it, so I'm just giving it a wash first. Put that all through there, and I'm just going to wash this over the top. It's going to be very subtle, and for that reason I'm actually going to do 2 layers of it. So run it over once, get the wash look, and then dry it. Remember, it's really the only edges you're going to see, so just make sure the edges have got the colour saturation that you want them to. As pretty as the rest of it looks, it's not going to get as seen as the edges. Green just didn't quite have the same look, so that's why I wanted to make it the pink. So I'm just grabbing my glue tape. You can use double-sided tape here if you wish. I just prefer my glue tape. I'm just going to stick this down onto the pink bit, and then we'll put the pink bit down on the card base. So just lining this up. There we go. And that'll help keep the watercoloured bit flat too. I just need to work out where I want this to sit, and I can score it. Always forget to get the scoring tool out. And then we'll just mount this one on here as well. Now if you wanted to, this would be a really good place to put a little bit of foam, just so it sits up. In fact, I am going to. I wasn't, and now I am. I always talk myself into these things. The foam too will help flatten this just a little. That's not foam tape. There it is. Thought I'd run out for a second there. The foam tape will help flatten this a little bit as well, as in hold it still, because it's being held solid on a lot of different ends. Like it's being held solid on the back through the adhesive. I always find 4's generally a good amount. 3's never enough, it's always got a bit of a gap in the middle. And now it's completely up to you whether you want this to be a top folding or a side folding card. I actually kind of like a top folding card. Just having a look at that. Oops, it's upside down. There we go. And there we've got a very pretty wreath card. Using the Hygge stamp set, and it is seriously one of my favourite sets ever that PA has done, because it is so usable in so many different ways. You can make something else that looks completely different. That's a completely different kind of card. Same, very similar in the way that it looks, but it's a completely different card. I like the softness of this one. I think it's very pretty. So thank you so much for sticking with me through that one. I know it was long, but I just wanted to be able to show you what this stamp set can do, because it just is so amazing. If you have any other ideas or something you'd like to share with me, please make sure you do over on social media. I'm always so happy to see what other people create using this kit, and I spend a lot of time on Instagram scrolling through seeing what other people have created. If you did enjoy this one, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope you have an absolutely awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!